What relationship advice would you give the youth?
What relationship advice?
Yeah.
Like romantic?
Yeah.
You are the love of your life.
That's right.
And I think that when you start with yourself, loving yourself, creating boundaries, advocating for yourself, being honest with yourself, not being so good that you're not being honest, you know, especially as a woman.
So we're just thankful.
Yeah.
It's my due.
She pats him like he's a little dog. She's like dragging her little pet around the red carpet. Welcome back to our last episode before Thanksgiving. I don't know what your plans are. Our plans are the same as they always are. We're going to be home. We're going to cook enough food to feed an army, but there's really not going to be that many of us. I think this year we're just celebrating with my parents. All my husband's family is in Brazil, so we don't really see his family ever, at least not yet. So it's just going to be us and my parents. So, but I'm still cooking a lot. I started today already. I made the cranberry ginger relish, and tomorrow I'm going to be cooking, well, depending on when this is released. So today I'm going to be cooking as much as possible. I'm going to dry brine the turkey. Yes, we are those people that eat turkey every year, even though it is not a very delicious bird. We eat it every year because I force us to. It's not that bad when you cook it well. It's obviously not the best meat. It's just tradition. You have to have turkey on Thanksgiving. There have been some Thanksgivings in the past where we haven't had turkey, but you just have to do it. I feel like especially, when you have young kids, you have to do all the traditional things just to feel like it's traditional. I'm making 2 different desserts, lots of side dishes. My mom is going to make some stuffing, and she's making one other thing. But anyway, it's going to be a long day of cooking. And then Thanksgiving Day, our power went out last night. Our power goes out all the time where I live. It's just this area. It's like just this area that goes out all the time in the Middle Tennessee area. And last year during Christmas, we didn't have power for like 3 days and it was 1 degree outside. So we're just bracing ourselves for the power to be out for the winter holidays again. But that's what's happening over here. Today's episode is probably not going to be that long. I just wanted to hop on and talk about this one viral video that I found on Twitter. I haven't been paying that much attention to current events and trending topics. Maybe the one thing that I could have talked about today is the new president of Argentina, because everyone's talking about how he's such a gigachad and he's against overspending of the government and social justice and any sort of collectivism. And there's also some stuff coming out about him about how he's a part of the World Economic Forum, which is a very shady globalist organization that believes in the New World Order and eats the bugs. You shall own nothing and you shall be happy. So who knows what this guy, Javier Milei, I think is his name. Yeah, Javier Milei. But all the clips that I've seen of him, I like. He's just this like really wacky dude that talks about leftists just being mierda, shit. And in an interview, the woman's like, why are you calling them shit? He's like, porque son las mierdas, because they are shit. So I like what I see of him, but who knows what, he's really going to do. Because think about Giorgia Meloni, the prime minister of Italy. She had great promise. She talked about strengthening family values. She was against abortion. She was against a lot of these radical leftist liberal ideologies like critical race theory and whatever. But I think she's turned out to be a little bit of a disappointment. So who knows what this guy is going to do. But that's really the only trending topic that I have kind of been following, but not enough to do a whole episode on it. So sorry to disappoint if that's what you were hoping to hear about today. But if there are trending topics or some things happening in culture that you want me to talk about, you can send them to me on Instagram. You can send them to me. If you're in my women's group, The Shift, you can message them to me. We're hosted on Mighty Networks. If you're a woman who wants to join a great online community of women who are into health and wellness, we're doing a morning routine challenge. We have a big giveaway coming up this weekend. Click the link in the description to join. It's called The Shift. It's hosted in Mighty Networks, so you don't need a Facebook login to get in. But send me stuff if you want me to talk about it. Sometimes I'm just not online enough because, I got enough going on here at home. I'm not online as much as I would want to be in order to produce the kind of content you guys probably want. So send me stuff that you want me to talk about. Today's viral video is a clip of an actress named Viola Davis. Viola Davis, we've all seen in some kind of movie. I remember her very distinctly from The Help. I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was cute. The novel, I think I read the novel before, a long time ago before the movie. I remember enjoying it. She was in the movie Fences. She was in that really popular show, something about murder, How to Get Away with Murder. I saw half of one episode. I couldn't stomach any more of it. She was in The Woman King. My husband says her face is really annoying, so we never watch anything with her in it because neither of us are really big fans of her. And look, she's a good actress. She was great in The Help. She's a good actress. But here she is on the red carpet at some event. She's with her husband, whose name is Julius Tenon. They've been married since 2003. So they've been married for over 20 years now. Just 20 years now. And that's a long time. That's in the world of Hollywood. That would be considered an impressive marriage because isn't it like the average marriage in Hollywood is like 5 years? But she's on the red carpet and the interviewer asks her to give advice to people about marriage. What would be your best relationship advice? That's probably one of the more substantial questions that you would get on the red carpet as a celebrity, right? Usually when you're, walking down the red carpet, they ask you, what are you wearing? Are you excited about tonight? I don't know if it's an award show. It doesn't look like it. I think it might be something for the Hunger Games. There's a new Hunger Games movie out. So I don't know what exactly this was for, but again, that's one of the more substantial questions you get asked on the red carpet. So we're going to watch her answer because there is so much in this clip that perfectly encapsulates everything that is wrong with modern marriage today. And I'm going to explain to you why so many women are deeply unhappy in their marriage. And it's all related to what she says in this video. So let's take a look.
What relationship advice would you give the youth?
What relationship advice?
Yeah.
Like romantic?
Yeah. Come on. You're what you love. You're what you
What would you
love.
say?
You know what? This is what I would say. And I know this is probably what I tell this to my daughter, that you are the love of your life.
That's right.
And I think that when you start with yourself, loving yourself, creating boundaries, advocating for yourself, being honest with yourself, not being so good that you're not being honest, especially as a woman, then I think everything grows from there. It is the greatest seed you can plant in the world to create great friendships and relationships, is to love yourself.
There's nothing greater than a woman that has confidence. And this one had it. And we've created this relationship that's just beautiful. So we're just thankful.
Yeah.
It's my due.
Okay. There's so much to say. Let's start with just the surface of this. Okay. Let's start with the body language between the two of them. Let's start with their interaction. If you, at the very beginning, when they ask her, what would be your relationship advice? She looks irritated. She says, like romantic? She looks annoyed that you would be asked this question as you're standing next to your husband of 20 years on the red carpet. She seems annoyed and he looks hopeful, like, oh, maybe she's going to say something nice about me. And then he looks at her, he's like, okay, you don't want to talk about it. So she seems like pissed off that they would ask her about her 20-year marriage, which you would think is one of the most, if not the most successful thing in her life, the thing that she's most proud of. I don't think that people who are happily married, I'm sure that they would say that their marriage is the most important thing in their life above everything else, including, of course, career. And then also, this is a really minor thing, but I think it's relevant. Her voice is deeper than his. Did anybody notice that? He's like, what would you say? And she's like romantic advice? And it's just such an imbalance of energy. It's such an imbalance of masculine and feminine energy between the two of them. So she starts off on the wrong foot, just being, annoyed. Okay, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Maybe she hasn't eaten all day because she's gotten ready for the red carpet. Who knows? So we can write that off. And then she says, okay, first, at the end, I'll get through the superficial stuff first, and then we'll get into the substance of what she said. At the end, she pats him like he's a little dog, and she says, it's my dude. Honestly, it's not funny, but it kind of is. She's like dragging her little pet around the red carpet. And the way that she like looks at him and smiles like, oh, you did a good job, by telling the camera that I was always a confident woman. And nothing was said about him. Nothing was said about the actual marriage. It was all about the self, and it was all about her. And the way that she pats him at the end, for those of you who are just listening, maybe you're on the audio and you went to see the video. At the end, when she says, it's my dude, she pats his chest very condescendingly, like, good boy, as if you would pat a cute little dog on the head, be like, good job, Johnny, you get a treat, Scout, good job. It's just tragic. Just the body language and all of it is just tragic to watch. I mean, I'm cringing in my seat. I have secondhand embarrassment from watching just this exchange. Now, the substance of what she says, the very first words out of her mouth when it comes to relationship advice from a woman who's been married for 20 years. You are the love of your life. That's the first thing she says. She wants women, because she also made it pretty clear, especially as women, we have to advocate for ourselves, whatever. She's delivering this relationship advice to women in particular. She is telling women that you are the love of your life. You have to put yourself first. And that is the greatest seed that you can plant in your life, is yourself, is to focus on yourself, is to love yourself. I mean, if you have followed me for more than 5 minutes, you've probably heard me rant before on social media, or maybe even this podcast, about how this modern culture of self-obsession, it may be single-handedly the downfall of our society, and definitely of women. If you think about all the trends that women fall into and that they fall prey to, things like body positivity. It's all about loving yourself, self-love, selling your body on OnlyFans, participating in porn, posting naked pictures of yourself online. It's all about loving yourself. It's about self-love, self-confidence, self. Everything is about the self. Our culture is obsessed with the self. And somehow we have convinced women that they don't love themselves enough. And that is actually the root of all of their problems, because they don't love themselves enough. And if they just loved themselves more, if they just gave themselves more, then they would feel more content. They wouldn't have mental health problems. They wouldn't be on antidepressants. They wouldn't be so unhappy, because they would love themselves first. Every single human being on the planet is born selfish. There is no moment in our life when we are not selfish, because we are born loving ourselves. Especially if you're thinking about this from a Christian perspective, wherever in the Bible, wherever in Christ's teachings, in the church, in the writings of the Holy Fathers, the saints, when have we ever been told to love ourselves? Has that ever been a commandment? Has that ever been an instruction? Has it ever been a piece of advice? No. Do you know why? Because it comes naturally to us. We are told to love others. We are told to put others before ourselves, especially in the context of marriage. Women are told to submit themselves to their husband, and husbands are told to lay down their life for their wife the way that Christ laid down his life for the church. This is not a self-serving position. This is not, you better love yourself. No human being has to be told to love themselves, because we are selfish. We already love ourselves. In fact, we all love ourselves too much. And if we want to have a successful life, and if we want to have a successful marriage, this is quite literally the absolute worst marriage advice you could possibly give to somebody, particularly in today's era. You are the love of your life. That is by far, I think, the worst marriage advice I've ever heard on the internet. And that's saying something, because I've heard some pretty trash marriage advice. So we don't need to be told to love ourselves. And I think it's actually a really sick thing that women are taught, because it really truly is the root of their unhappiness. And I have a lot of people in the comment section who say things like, I don't know, I was really unhappy for a long time and I hated myself. And I was not happy with who I was, and I just really didn't like myself. So maybe there is something to loving yourself. Do you know why so many women hate themselves? You know why so many women end up really unhappy and feeling like they're so insecure and they can't stand who they see in the mirror? It's because they're so self-obsessed. The more obsessed you are with yourself, the more unhappy and insecure and self-hating you're going to be. Do you know why? because yourself, everyone's self, we are all broken, fallen human beings. And we have a bottomless pit of selfishness. So if you continuously dig deeper into yourself, fall more into yourself, become more obsessed with yourself, you're not going to love yourself more. You're probably going to hate yourself more. You know why? Because you are broken on your own, by yourself. You are broken. And that's okay. That's okay. We are all broken. We are all fallen. We're all sinful human beings. So the more that you dig into yourself and try to get to know yourself and try to find yourself and try to put yourself first, of course you're going to end up hating yourself, because the only place that we can actually find true healing and wholeness is in Christ. That's the only place we can find that. He is the only one, the only physician who can truly heal us, because he is the only one who is healed. He is the healed one. So all these women are trying to find their satisfaction in whatever it might be, in themselves and spirituality and whatever else it is. It all ends up being just a bottomless pit of the self. And then they wonder why they hate themselves. They're like, actually, I need to love myself more because I struggled so long with hating my body and hating myself. Yeah, because you were so self-obsessed. I can't stress this enough. The self really is a bottomless pit. And the more that you're going to try to discover yourself and focus on yourself, the more you're going to end up hating yourself. Because if we want to be healed, if we want to be fulfilled, and if we want to improve our lives and improve ourselves, there's only one place that we can look for that. And it's certainly not within ourselves. But within the context of marriage, this idea that the self, you need to put yourself first in a marriage, again, is quite literally the opposite of what makes lifelong marriages. I know that people like to rag on Tony Robbins. I've loved Tony Robbins for years. I just like his stuff. I've always enjoyed listening to him. I really like what I have seen. I like what he says about relationships and marriage. And one thing that he said many years ago, he said, if you approach a relationship as a place to give rather than a place to get, your relationship will last forever. He says, and he even kind of compares it to the early stages of any relationship. When you first start dating somebody, or when you're first married to somebody, you'll do anything for them. Oh no, honey, it's okay. I'll take out the trash. You relax. It's okay. No, honey, it's okay. I'll cook for you. Why don't you take a seat? Oh, why don't you let me do that for you? Because you're so in love with this person, you want to give to them. You want to provide for them. You want to be there for them. And if we all maintained that mindset, and if we both approached marriage as a place that we were going to go give to one another, then the marriage would never end. That is really the foundation of many lifelong healthy marriages. And yes, of course, again, from a Christian perspective, that is all within the context of Christ, right? Christ at the head of the relationship. And you've heard that, that analogy of it's a triangle, and when Christ is at the very top and you're both moving closer to God, then you're closer to each other. But it's all about approaching marriage as a selfless endeavor. And if you both approach it that way, then you will be very successful and have a long, healthy marriage. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be without its many struggles, and doesn't mean you're not going to suffer. Of course you are. But once you approach a marriage in a way where you're there for each other and you put each other first, it's easier to get through those tough times. So, and this is why you see a lot of women getting divorced. People like to brag and say our divorce rates are lowering. They're only lowering because fewer people are getting married. Divorce rates are still high, and it's a scary thing to see, because obviously family is a bedrock of any thriving society. And one of the reasons why it's so easy for people to get divorced now in this culture of no-fault divorce is because both men and women in many cases have started to view marriage as a place that they go to grow. You hear a lot of these terms like growth, self-discovery. I was just growing and he just wasn't growing with me. I just wasn't getting what I needed from that relationship anymore. I'm just not happy anymore. And it's not good for us to be in a relationship that doesn't make us happy. And especially when there are kids involved, you still have a lot of these people with this mindset that a relationship, a marriage is supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to make you grow. It's about self-growth and discovery and self-enlightenment. Now, obviously, nobody is saying that a marriage should be an abusive place where you're being mistreated. No, that's not the point here. But we need to have a deeper understanding of marriage if we want to see our society thrive. And that's why answers like this from really famous celebrities, it's not trivial, because again, it's the perfect representation of what's wrong with modern marriages. And you look at a lot of these young people who are chronically online and they go through TikTok and Instagram and they see all these clips, and this is the model of marriage that they're being taught. That is a scary thing, to think that millions and millions of teenagers and young adults are looking at this and thinking that they need to love themselves first, make themselves the love of their lives in order to have a successful marriage. It scares me, because we need stronger marriages and stronger families in this country if we're going to win anything, if we're going to take back the culture, if we're going to build a better future for our children. So when I see videos like this, it really disturbs me. It rubs me the wrong way. I also get a lot of comments like, well, if you're not taking care of your health, how can you, if you're not loving yourself and taking care of your body, then how can you expect to take care of your family and your kids? Just because you put someone else first doesn't mean that you let yourself go. In fact, if you truly wanted to take care of others, and if you really wanted to care for your husband and one day care for your children, that is the very reason why you take care of your health, because you want to be able to give 100% to your family. And you can't do that if you're overweight, unhealthy, addicted to junk food, you never move your body or exercise or go outside. If you don't do the basic things that adults have always done to keep themselves healthy for many, many years, you're not going to be able to give to your family. And that is selfish. Being unhealthy, and this is a bit of a controversial opinion, but I think being unhealthy is selfish. I think that's sacrificing your health in order to eat whatever you want, in order to be lazy, in order to not have to develop new habits and work hard on your health. I think that is selfish, because you're doing what you want to do that gives you short-term fulfillment. You're not thinking about the long term. So if we really, especially as wives and mothers, if we really want to care for our families and put our husband first, that means inherently that you have to fulfill your most basic needs in terms of health and hygiene. That's rolled into health. You have to take care of yourself. You have to look good. You have to feel good. You have to be healthy. That does not mean you have to spend hours and hours a day or even hours and hours a week in the gym and make yourself look perfect. No, you just have to be healthy. And that is, your physical health and emotional health is directly tied to your spiritual health. They're not inseparable. They're not mutually exclusive. So for all the answers in the comments, they're like, I was stuck in a loveless marriage and I wasn't taking care of myself. I had to get myself out of the situation. I'm not going to sit here and tell people what happened in their own lives, in their own personal life. That's not what I'm here to do. But I can tell you for a matter of fact that taking care of yourself does not mean that it's a selfish thing. If anything, it is the most selfless thing that you can do, because it allows you to give to others. Never let your younger friends who are single or who are recently married watch stuff like this, because it plants a seed that is going to be poisonous in a marriage. I think that putting yourself first above all else and above everybody else, it ends up being a cancer to the marriage. It ends up making both the wife and the husband very unhappy and very unfulfilled, because again, the concept of the self being a bottomless pit, that means you'll never be fully satisfied if you're trying to fulfill your own desires, either just by yourself or your husband. Like, you'll never be fully satisfied because it's a bottomless pit. Again, there's only one true healer that can help you fully heal and be whole again. And if you're constantly focused on yourself first, you're never going to find that healing. It worries me that girls are looking at this kind of marriage advice. And this video was originally shared by BuzzFeed, media site that shares all sorts of celebrity and news and culture stuff. And the comments on this video were like, yes, girl, you tell them, yeah, self-love, that is the foundation of any relationship. You got to love yourself, girl. I was stuck in this marriage where I hated myself. And as soon as I got out of it, I found myself and I found true love and I've never been happier. All these comments, I'm scrolling through the comments and I'm like, this is the biggest black pill ever. It's a recipe for divorce. It really is. And I think that we should be encouraging women to, yes, of course, be happy and to be fulfilled. But that does not come from being obsessed with yourself. That's the last place you're going to find it. And that's why so many women, even though they have adopted modern feminism, which a lot of it is about self-love and putting yourself first. They've adopted body positivity. They've adopted LGBTQ, LMNOP, whatever. and they're still not happy. They're still on antidepressants, highest rates of depression and anxiety ever. So many women on medication. A lot of women say they're depressed and anxious and whatever. Of course, that's what's going to happen when you constantly just put yourself first. That's the only thing you care about, yourself. Me, 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 me. You know that one of the easiest ways to not be depressed is to get over your depression. Go volunteer. Go serve people who are way less fortunate than you and I are. Take some time to give to others. It's impossible to be depressed if you are not focused on yourself, if you are giving. I know people, that's such a reductionist view of depression. It's a clinical issue. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. 95 to 99 probably % of these depression cases are not about chemical imbalances. They're about people living lives that are incredibly unfulfilling. So of course, they're going to be miserable and unhappy because the self is a bottomless pit. So with that, enjoy Thanksgiving. Give to others. I don't know, cook for others. Stop thinking about yourself. And for women, honestly, the best way to not be so selfish is to get married and have kids. You know, you don't have to rush it if you're not with the right person. Don't, just pick up some dude just to have kids with him. But truly, the thing about motherhood, and I can talk about this from a personal perspective, is that it makes you selfless. It breaks down. And you know what? It is such a relief in a way. It's hard to articulate. I've read some women online who have articulated this very well. But becoming a mom and devoting everything that you have to this child physically, pregnancy takes a lot, postpartum, breastfeeding, those first few months. Honestly, the first year, it takes a lot, especially if you're exclusively breastfeeding and you are the sole caregiver of your child. It's physically draining. You give so much. You give so much physically, emotionally, and spiritually to this child. And it is a relief to not have to be selfish. I can't explain it. It is the greatest relief, this burden lifted off of your shoulders. You now have this beautiful child that was given to you by God, and you get to give this child all of your attention and love. And it's such a relief to not have to be boggled, to boggle down, not boggle down. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever it is, it's such a relief to not be a slave to your own desires and a slave to your own needs all the time. Because in a way, it is a form of slavery. You're a slave to your own fleshly desires. You're a slave to yourself. It's a relief to not have to worry so much about what you want all the time, because it's much more fulfilling to care for a child and to care for a husband. Again, I'm not saying that all women should rush into marriage and having children too soon. No, it needs to be the right man, needs to be the right timing. But once you get there, you really should be prioritizing it as much as you can if that's what you know you want in the future. Once you get there, you're going to find that it is the greatest gift to be able to be so selfless. And that's why I myself, and I've seen a lot of other mothers, like you reach a level of peace after becoming a mom. And a lot of it comes from being very selfless. I don't know. I also feel like a lot of women that I know and friends, and I've even seen some women online too, they just become more beautiful after they become moms, because they're, again, not so self-obsessed. So it's a good thing to give to others. Hope you guys have a really good Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Enjoy time with friends and family. Eat lots of pie and turkey, stuffing. I'm making a cheesecake this year. We just feel like a cheesecake this year. I'm making another pie too. I'll have to show all the pictures and stuff. Enjoy the holiday, guys. We will see you after the break. If you want me to talk about anything particular, send me links, videos, whatever. And see you next time. Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.